Welcome to Bankable. I'm Doreen Abisundra, your host and a proponent of innovative technology and financing solutions for AI infrastructure, decarbonization, and energy security.
If I had to describe the Holy Grail, so it would be a region where countries are connected through shared nuclear expertise, technology, and trained people.
The trust of the general public is important to build the robust nuclear security regime.
Welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to be meeting with representatives from CRDF, and I'm going to leave it to the panelists to describe what the acronym stands for, what CRDF is, what its aim and ambitions are too. But first, we have to meet the panelists, and we're going to go straight in and ask them who they are and a little bit about their background, a little description of the inspiration that's brought them to the present moment. So let me start very first with Kelly. We'll move on to Lucy, Anindya, and Nurul. So Kelly, tell us right from the start, who are you and how would you describe yourself and your current profession and career history, please?
Thank you, Doreen. It's great to be here. I'm Dr. Kelly Barfield. I have almost 4 decades of experience in nuclear energy, beginning my work in 1986 at Grand Gulf Nuclear Station, which is one of the world's largest boiling water reactors in Mississippi in the United States. I'm a Fulbright specialist in nuclear stakeholder engagement, and so I work as a consultant to CRDF in support of the U.S. Department of State's FIRST program. And I won't bore you with the acronym, but essentially that supports globally countries who are looking at small modular reactor technology. The industry is amazing in terms of its fundamentals, but especially in the last 2 decades, its advancement. And that's what some of the specialists today can talk about, advancement in terms of new technologies such as small modular reactors. So that's what I do with CRDF. But I've also supported the International Atomic Energy Agency for almost 20 years in the area of stakeholder engagement as countries look at what their options are going to be for creating reliable electricity, affordable electricity, electricity that does not emit CO2 in the conversion of energy to electricity, because that's basically what nuclear energy is all about. And so what I really look at and what I coach and teach has to do with the social science of nuclear energy, which, as brilliant as the technical side is, it doesn't happen if society doesn't accept the technology. So risk perception, for example, language around nuclear is fascinating. What the public hears when we talk about nuclear is not always what we think we're saying as scientists. So as I say, it's just a dynamic, exciting field, and especially exciting around the world as I see so many women entering the field, because for some 25 years in the United States, we've worked very, very hard to engage young people, young women in STEM fields in general, but nuclear energy in particular. And what you have here today is a panel that shows the success of some of those efforts.
Marvelous. Thank you. Lovely to have you, Kelly. And Lucy, tell us a little bit about who you are, what describes you best, a little bit about your current profession and career history, please.
Sure. Thank you, Doreen, again, for having all of us here. It was a pleasure to meet you in London in, July now. That was a while ago. My name's Lucy Matthews. I am a project associate at CRDF Global, which stands for the Civilian Research Development Foundation. And over the past 3 years or so, I've managed project operations focused on non-proliferation and security assistance across several different mission areas. I've had the opportunity to work with people across the private, public, and university sectors on everything from research security and intellectual property protection to nuclear non-proliferation and peaceful uses of sustainable nuclear energy. But my path to project management has really been quite unique. I grew up in Vermont, and in the halfway through high school, I signed up to be a firefighter and eventually became an emergency medical technician. And I, at that time, did not think I was going to be working in international security and have that interest. But I believe that that early call to first response, and then coupled with a Bachelor in Arts in History and Political Science, now receiving a master's degree at this time, has brought the core interest in keeping communities safe to a broader international security lens that I still have so much passion for today. So the work that we've done at CRDF Global has afforded me opportunities to travel, opportunities to meet folks from all over the world. And I know that we're going to talk a lot more about the successes of our fellows on the call here as well.
Brilliant. Go to Anindya. Tell us a little bit about who you are, and perhaps even tell us where you're calling in from, and a little bit about your career history and profession.
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Anindya. I'm one of the CRDF Global Robin Copeland Memorial Fellowship 2024 cohort. So I am a nuclear security officer currently working at BRIN. It's Indonesian National Research and Innovation Agency. So I work on a research reactor, currently research reactor as nuclear security officer. Initially, I don't really think nuclear security officer as a career, but security in general. In high school, I signed up into an internship in security in general. So it was working with aviation security back then, and then during my university year, I also try to learn more the electrical side, the electronic side of the security itself, and I just knew that nuclear security officer is a career, and now here I am, I guess.
Brilliant. So lovely to have you. Thank you. And last but not least, for certain, Nurul, tell us a little bit about who you are, please.
Okay, thank you, Doreen, for having us. My name is Nurul Ilyani, and I am from Malaysia. I'm currently a PhD researcher in nuclear science at University Malaya. We focus on nuclear security and forensics. So I've been involved in the nuclear field for over a decade, beginning with my bachelor degree in nuclear science from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, and then followed by a master in nuclear technology with a specialization in nuclear security and safeguard at Chulalongkorn University in Thailand. Actually, my journey is so far has centered on education, research, and international collaboration because I'm not yet working in the professional in the industry. So my journey is through various programs and initiatives, including the engagement with CRDF and WINS, where I have gained my valuable exposure to the global nuclear security community and its effort to connect science, education, and policy. So through this experience, I have deepened my commitment to strengthen the role of nuclear science in building a safer and more secure world, and to helping develop the next generation of nuclear security expertise, especially in Malaysia. Thank you.
Fantastic. So interesting. We can't wait to hear more about you and each of the other panelists. And I have to make a mention that we see a sixth person on the line, and that's Meg. And Meg is the Business Development and Communications Officer for CRDF, and she's asked to stay on and be part of it, and I suppose learn from it as well. So that's the reason why we have six squares on this call. So now let's go straight into what CRDF is its aims, its ambition, its role. And I suppose the best place to start with is Lucy. Just give us a very high overview of CRDF, and then perhaps also just end by explaining why we have Anindya and Nurul on this conversation as well.
Of course, of course. So CRDF Global, like I said, the Civilian Research Development Foundation, is an independent international nonprofit that was founded over 30 years ago in response to the collapse of the Soviet Union and the threat of the large-scale proliferation of weapons technology in the region. Since that time, we have connected individuals and institutions around the world across the several different mission areas, with a goal of strengthening individuals, building relationships, and improving our world. Our work has expanded over those decades to address global concerns that change every year, every month, but our driving vision is to sustain a healthy and safe world. Part of what brings CRDF Global in the conversation of the longstanding commitment to advancing women in STEM and security is its active involvement in technology, engineering, mathematics, medicine, and in security fields by opening access to professional development opportunities, creating regional peer networks, and linking women with the international role models to serve as mentors. And so by working with government, academia, and industry partners in their respective home countries, some of these programs and initiatives ensure that women have a path to professional advancement and leadership opportunities. One of these programs, which is what brings us here today, is the Robin Copeland Memorial Fellowship for Women in Non-Proliferation. The RCMF program was named in honor of Miss Robin Copeland, who is a former Global Non-Proliferation Director and beloved colleague at CRDF Global. She was a powerful force in the non-proliferation and science engagement community, respected for her expertise and relentless commitment to building meaningful cross-border collaboration in nuclear security. She was one of the early colleagues working on US-Russia collaboration in the post-Cold War era, and then her leadership expanded in CRDF Global scientific engagement into these new regions, and she consistently pushed those boundaries of what diplomacy, science, and security could achieve together. And I think we can all agree her legacy really lives on here in the collaborative networks that she nurtured and in the programs like the RCMF program that continue to reflect her belief in science diplomacy as a tool for global security. The RCMF program has been ongoing since 2012. It's one of our longest programs, like I said. We have engaged individuals from, I got a list for you, Iraq, Pakistan, Indonesia, Mali, Egypt, South Africa, India, Malaysia, Turkey, Oman, Jordan, and Mongolia. I think I said everybody. So we have, as our organization is global, we have offices in Amman, Jordan, Almaty, Kazakhstan, Warsaw, Poland, Kyiv, Ukraine, Manila, Philippines, and here in Arlington, Virginia, and DC. We have continued our global reach by ensuring that folks from all over the world are attached to these programs. The women leaders in emerging countries have the opportunity to participate in this fellowship and provides opportunities to promote non-proliferation and serve in the roles that they are currently working in. Past fellows have worked in biosecurity, chemical security, and as we have on the phone here, nuclear security. And this RCMF program iteration was generously supported by the Carnegie Corporation of New York and comprised of 3 phases: a virtual onboarding and preparation stage, a 1-month immersive fellowship at partner institutions, and a final capstone project, which is where you met the fellows in London. And I think we're going to talk a lot more about the fellows and their personal experiences in the fellowship. I'm really excited to hear that. But I did want to pass it over to Kelly, who can speak a little bit to CRDF Global's technical nuclear capabilities as a consultant with CRDF Global.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lucy. That's a fantastic overview and insightful into what the aims and ambitions are. And naturally, we're very sorry for the loss of Miss Robin Copeland, but clear that, you know, she's left a legacy to live up to. So yes, so Kelly, tell us a little bit more about your role within CRDF and what you bring to the role itself.
Well, thank you. Lucy mentioned networks, and what we often find, especially with nuclear newcomer countries, many countries have deep experience with nuclear technologies, for example, in radiotherapy, in medicine, in food security, food protection, but not necessarily in electricity production or other aspects of nuclear energy. Many countries, for example, may have research reactors. So they may have a basic framework, but they've not scaled it up yet to full commercial electricity production. So with CRDF, they look at, they bring in experts with specific skills, backgrounds, expertise for infrastructure issues. So the CRDF brings together experts with particular skill sets in what we refer to as the infrastructure issues. The International Atomic Energy Agency has what is referred to as a milestones approach for a country who at the very beginning is simply exploring options. And that's what CRDF brings them in areas like technology selection. Is our country right for large reactors? In many cases, no. Many times they simply don't need that much electricity. So how do small reactors fit in? So you have experts in technology selection, you have experts in site selection who help assist countries look at characterization, the geology of a place, for instance, as it meets the requirements of nuclear production, which is fundamental. Many countries don't yet have, for example, a nuclear law that supports the development of a nuclear program. So CRDF, again, it's all about networks. It's all about bringing expertise to the ground where it's needed. As I said, my expertise is stakeholder engagement, risk perception, communication of nuclear. You also have a vast network through CRDF of educators, particularly those at institutes of higher learning who talk about workforce development. You need a lot of expertise, and it's not just nuclear engineers who run nuclear plants. That's actually a very small percentage overall. And so how do you develop, for example, an infrastructure of welders, mechanics, instrumentation and control technicians, for example? All of this are the experts CRDF has that look at what are referred to as the 3 S's: safety, security, and safeguards. And that's what our fellows today have such a rich background in. So it really is all about helping countries see that the world of nuclear energy truly is a global network. You're not starting from zero if you've never had nuclear energy production in your country. If anything, what CRDF Global brings through its expert network is the encouragement that yes, you can do it. And another fundamental principle of the nuclear energy sector is what we refer to as operating experience. Chances are there are best practices and lessons learned in virtually everything you're going to come across. And so we tap into that knowledge management, if you will, the background of almost 70 years of nuclear around the globe to say, what is the operating experience somewhere else that you're confronting that can inform your decisions going forward?
Marvelous. Thank you very much for that. And I thought it was particularly insightful that you started talking about the uses of nuclear for agriculture, for food, for medicine, because very often these days, the focus on nuclear tends to be about electricity generation, in particular for the AI infrastructure exponential growth that we're seeing. So it's absolutely useful and fantastic that you've brought in the other uses of nuclear energy beyond what the kind of shiny object is in conferences in particular these days. So thank you for that. And so now we go across to the two fellows that were, I suppose you could define you guys as the winners of the Robin Copeland Memorial Fund program in the last year. And I'm going to start with Nurul first. So tell us a little bit about the topic that you researched, your contribution to nuclear technology, and your particular ambition with what you have done, and doing for the nuclear sector. And then we'll move on to in India, exactly the same question. So Nurul, take about 5 minutes and tell us exactly what you're doing.
Thank you, Doreen. And during my fellowship, I have been working on assessment of Malaysia nuclear forensic capabilities. So my work was focused on understanding how ready Malaysia is to respond to and to investigate potential nuclear or radiological incident. We are looking at both technical capacity and the institutional coordination. So through this assessment, I have identified the strengths, challenges, and opportunity for growth, especially in building sustainable expertise and regional cooperation. So this project is aimed to support Malaysia's broader commitment to nuclear security and non-proliferation. We want to ensure that we have the right tools and system in place to respond effectively and confidently if any nuclear incident happen. So this kind of work play a critical role in building trust around nuclear technology, because when countries can show that their material are secure and traceable, we can reduce the risk and reassure both the public and international community that nuclear in our country is being used responsibly, whether it is for power, medicine, or research or industry. So my big ambition is this project is to see that nuclear forensic will be adopted as a standard part of nuclear governance. And if I had to describe the Holy Grail in my working, so it will be a region where countries are connected through shared nuclear expertise, technology, and trained people. This is the system where if there is ever an incident, we can coordinate a fast, sign-based response across border. So that would not just improve security, it will build real confidence in how we manage nuclear technology across the region. So for me, it's about making nuclear energy and technology safer, more transparent, and more trusted, especially for developing country like mine, where we are considered to have nuclear power in near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Nurul. Clear points of safety, transparency, and trustworthiness. That's key ambitions of your research. Thank you for sharing that. In India, tell us a little bit about your research, your contribution, and your ambition.
Okay, so during my fellowship with CRDF, my research focus is to build vigilance and the robust nuclear security culture in general. So starting small within my facility, because in the island of Java is one of the most densely populated island in the world, and it's also power hungry. And it's also that Indonesia has started the nuclear initiative. So I would like to research on the vigilance and culture as an important aspect of the building robust nuclear security in general, especially as Indonesia still having some doubt in nuclear. Is it secure? Is it safe? Will people trying to sabotage it? Something like that. The trust of the general public is important to build the robust nuclear security regime, right? So I would like to believe that in this sense, my contribution is to highlight that investing in people and the organization is as important as to invest to the equipment itself. So what I would like to achieve is the future when nuclear security culture is becoming the second nature by implementing and uh, collaborating the national culture, the local culture into the nuclear security culture so people can accept it more, not seeing it as a hassle, something like that.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. So very clearly, again, security, trust are key issues. And in addition, we have vigilance that's led in part of your research and contribution. That's really helpful to hear. And Lucy, maybe this is a useful time to talk about the general number of fellows that have come through this year's program, because we're seeing 2 of the fellows, but just remind us how many fellows were there for this year and how many fellows have there been kind of as long as the program has run.
Sure. So over the entire fellowship program since 2012, we have had 20 individuals, fellows. In the past 2025 year, we've had 4 fellows. But I believe our 2024 and 2025 years very beautifully melded together in a way that our fellows who are on the call, some of who are on the call with us today from the years 2024, were able to be of fantastic mentorship to the incoming 2025 fellows. So we had 3 fellows from 2024 join us in London for the Women in Nuclear conference, as well as 2 fellows plus 1 online join us in London as well. So able to work together, lessons learned, some of what Kelly was speaking about on different approaches to nuclear security and science in their respective countries, and the ability ultimately to collaborate with one another.
Brilliant, brilliant. And maybe I just want to go to the 2 fellows and just ask a little bit more about the exact kind of practical work you were doing during the fellowship. Was it reading, writing, researching? What exactly were you doing during this fellowship?
So what I did during my fellowship is more like trying to implement things, assessing things, and then to see what could be better and make a solution out of that. It also happened that my mentor from Malaysia is also doing a research on vigilance. So we kind of go hand in hand in developing a vigilance enhancement program for security officer, because security officer is the defense line, first defense line when you are entering the facility, right? So the vigilance should be very robust since the very first gate before you are entering the facility itself. So yeah, I am assessing where the vigilance is already going in my facility, and then looking what could be better, and then try to make an improvement program out of that, something like that.
Okay, brilliant. And Nurul, tell us a little bit more. Were you writing, researching, and also if you had a mentor?
Yes. For me, my research, I'm starting the research with reading the guideline from IAEA, best practice from another international agency, and then we built the questionnaire from the guideline. The questionnaire consists of the nuclear capabilities that we need to have if we want to build the nuclear forensic capability. So from that document, we developed the questionnaire. The questionnaire is used as the interview question for that we made the regulators, operators at the Atom Malaysia and Nuclear Malaysia, so that they can because we want to see the capabilities, whether we have the technical capabilities and infrastructure, human development. So we ask that individual in that institute, which is Nuclear Malaysia and Atom Malaysia. So from their answer, we then know how ready Malaysia is for nuclear forensics. Am I making it clear?
Very clear. That's excellent. In particular, if you've read the IAEA guidelines, I think, many people do not, in particular in this industry, recognize the depth of the rules. So fantastic that, you're referring to a benchmark and then using it to modify and create something that's local and specific to your nation. And India, did you want to add to that?
Well, I do agree that IAEA guideline has provided so much that could be implemented initially, and we can tweak things from that. WINS, World Institute of Nuclear Security, is also giving a good guide on the more practical guide on things, especially in nuclear security. So I think that those international guideline is giving a nice benchmark for people to start, especially from the country who has not have the initiative beforehand. I agree.
Brilliant. And I'm so glad that you mentioned WINS. Perhaps let me throw it out to the so-called the floor. Who wants to tell me a little bit more about WINS and exactly what it works for and how CRDF collaborates with WINS?
Yes. So what Doreen said is WINS is World Institute for Nuclear Security.
That's correct.
It is an international NGO where they provide like best practice guideline, certification, and actually their work is all about supporting nuclear security internationally.
Brilliant. Thank you,
I
Nurul.
would like
Thank
to
you for
add
sharing.
something to that.
Please, and the reason I asked about WINS is because in India you had brought it up.
Yeah.
So I'm very keen to understand how and why WINS was relevant to what you're doing. And then, so let me give that to you, please.
Okay. So WINS is also giving the access for people who want to go into the nuclear security, because WINS is one of the few available nuclear security certification for people who have not entered the industry yet. So if you want to enter the industry, you can start from the WIN certification itself. And I think that's wonderful, because nuclear was initially a pretty well kept community before, I think. Because not everyone are able to enter the nuclear industry, and now since the industry is growing more fast than ever, I think more people able to join is very nice thing to have.
Brilliant, fantastic. And obviously, I think we need to have a conversation with WINS themselves too. And to all of you, how are you or CRDF or the various different institutions you're working with, how are you contributing to decarbonization and or energy security? If I start perhaps with you, Kelly, move to India, Nurul, and Lucy.
Well, as I said, the advancement of nuclear technology in itself contributes to decarbonization. Energy security really is national security. And so countries are trying to figure out how to make electricity for 100 years. You do not grow a national economy if you cannot make electricity. So, the work that I do, hopefully, strengthens the confidence, if nothing else, the confidence of decision makers, national leaders to realize that the world today really is accepting of advanced technologies. They're not as fearful as many policymakers assume the public is. So public opinion research is very important. Increasingly, young people embrace the use of nuclear technologies. And so bringing those stories to decision makers, is a vital aspect. You don't build something if you don't start, I'll just say. And so what my work does, I hope, is give them the courage to support the work of individuals like the fellows here today. And the only other comment, if you don't mind, that I'll make is hearing their stories. I think it's really interesting when we think of nuclear safety and non-proliferation. We often think of safety from the outside in, but safety in nuclear really is what I call deep and wide. The example of Indonesia looking at a nuclear safety culture. It begins with the people inside companies and inside the technology. We always used to say, pumps don't run plants, people do. And so that notion, it's brilliant to see the combination of these two fellows looking at safety from an internal nuclear safety culture standpoint, as well as that external safeguards perspective. So it just highlights, I think, the work that the fellows are doing and why it is so interwoven.
Thank you. And India.
Yeah, I do agree with Kelly. As for many countries, nuclear is a pathway to decarbonization, isn't it? So as Indonesia too, I would like to think that for Indonesia to achieve decarbonization, nuclear is one of the way. So my contribution is not directly into decarbonization itself, but to strengthen the idea of having nuclear energy, to accelerate it, to increase the trust of the people that, oh, we are very competent people running the nuclear power plant. The culture, the safety, the security surrounding the nuclear itself that still has been the issue worldwide, I think. Trusting the nuclear itself is kind of hard from the general people, I think. When the human side is prepared, I think that it will follow, the technology will follow, and everything else will follow. I think something like that.
Brilliant. Thank you. Nurul.
For me, I think my work is like connect most directly to energy security, because it is a critical part of the clean energy transition. So we know that nuclear power is already low energy carbon, but for it to really support this decarbonization, it needs to be secure and trusted. So in that way, I see my work as helping, I hope, to make nuclear energy not just clean, but also secure and resilient, which is essential if we want to be a long term of the energy mix. So I think I'm working on the security backbone to make sure that nuclear energy is not only low carbon, but also accountable and future ready. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I have to pick up on your word backbone. I think that's fundamental. That's a critical word in this discussion. Lucy, tell us a little bit about how you and CRDF and the programs that it runs is helping to contribute to decarbonization, AI infrastructure even, if you wish, and energy security.
Sure. I think all of those topics are indirectly thought throughout any of the programs that we do, regardless of those that actually work maybe in nuclear energy. At any given event, we could have a participant who has a background in AI infrastructure or a background in energy security, but they might be coming to a program that is learning along with colleagues from their industry and completely different industries how to create a safeguards guide for their institution. So decarbonization, AI infrastructure, energy security, CRDF Global approaches these in the unique ways, as our colleagues have said on the call already, that we contribute to these fields by focusing more on the human capacity, the people and the systems that makes these advancements in these fields possible. Some of the other programs that CRDF Global has done, in addition to the RCMF program, has created a best practice guide for advancement and inclusion of women in STEM and national security. We also have an annual Breaking Barriers event that celebrates women's contributions to science and security and creates this space for leaders and representatives from multiple sectors to collaborate on their next steps. And then the Building Networks Among Women in Nuclear Non-Proliferation program, which similarly to the RCMF program, supports women in nuclear security and non-proliferation with grants to create projects that will empower their institutions at home. So we're always ensuring at CRDF Global that people have the tools, the knowledge, and the networks that they need to make the world a safer, more inclusive space.
Fantastic. So Lucy, tell us a little bit about the financing support that is available to CRDF and thereafter to the fellows and the participants that it suffers. Effectively, where are you getting the financing to support the work that CRDF is doing?
Sure. So we, as I said, are an independent nonprofit. We have partnerships and funders across public sector in the US, our allied government partners overseas, as well as private sector and other nonprofit support. The capabilities that we are able to fund through that support from our funders are things like travel and logistics. We are able to set up the fellows with mentors, whether that be in person or online, depending on the needs of that specific person. But our fellows have been able to travel outside of their country, irrespective of CRDF Global being there in person, but setting up these fellows with mentorship programs from different countries to make sure that all voices are heard.
Fantastic, thank you. Do you want to give us a few examples of those supporters, if you wish?
Sure. So the supporter of the RCMF program currently has been for many years now is the Carnegie Corporation of New York. We've also worked with, I'll give you one example, Nuclear Malaysia, who this happens quite frequently in CRDF programming. We work with an individual who is a part of an organization, and later on that individual, through their own work, becomes champion in their field and in their path, and then is training the trainer almost. So an individual from Nuclear Malaysia stepped up and ran now the program that has helped guide the fellows in 2024 and 2025 through their fellowship process.
That's a brilliant example, and also brilliant examples that we see on the screen here, being Nurul and in India, who are clear champions of or clear examples, rather, I should say, of what the benefits are of the program. So let me end perhaps with suggesting that with the financing that's come towards RCF, and what you are doing through the people that run through the programs, you're effectively making nuclear and nuclear industry a bit bankable, isn't it? You're making it bankability through the people and the contribution to the safety. Maybe let me give you the last words to each of you. What is the one thing you want to see in terms of advancing your position that you're trying to push? And secondly, the nuclear economy, so to say. Let me start with Anindya, Nurul, Kelly, and Lucy. You can have the last word.
Okay, so I would like to believe that by reassuring nuclear that is safe.
Brilliant. Nuclear is safe. Got it. We heard you.
So by believing and reassuring people who will invest into the nuclear, I would like to believe that there will be more opportunity for people, more career advancement available within within the nuclear industry. I think that's all.
Brilliant. Thank you. Nurul, what's your
Yeah.
ambition for what you are doing and what the sector is?
Yes, for me, I do agree with Anindya because in our region, it seems like young generation is quite difficult for us to join the industry because it's limited space, we can say. Yeah. So I think I think it is good if there are a lot of opportunity for us, like mentorship, trainership, so that we can learn more, because we now know that Southeast Asia region is going for nuclear energy, I think, in the near future. So I hope that there are financial support for train the young generation.
Brilliant. Thank
you.
Kelly.
And yes, and then, you know, the bankability aspect of the industry, and, you know, going back to Lucy's explanation of the financing, I think that what I see that's changed so much is the convergence of public funding, yes, governments coming together and supporting the development of the infrastructure, but also now private partnerships, private investments, and many of these are for-profit companies, certainly, like technology developers. But the example of the Carnegie Foundation, you have a lot of now foundation investors who understand the need for capacity building. And then I would say, let's not forget another category or bucket, and that's the pro bono work of folks like mentors that we keep mentioning. The industry really does support one another stringently. And so you've got that combination of public, private, for-profit, private, not-for-profit, and finally, individuals who just fervently believe in the growth of nuclear technologies to support energy policy around the world. Seeing that come together just makes my career, you know, feel like I'm putting a bow on the package, if you will.
Lucy.
Sure. So I think the bankability has been definitely echoed, and I'm happy that Kelly spoke to the individuals as well.
So now this leaves me to just ask, how do we get to learn a little bit more about CRDF and to follow the work that it's doing? And at this point of time, we reveal Meg. Meg, over to you, Meg, and tell us firstly a little bit about who you are, and then give us the call to action.
Yes, my name is Meg LaBombard. I work in marketing and communications for CRDF Global, helping to share publicly the great work that my colleagues are doing around the world, and future opportunities to partner with us. If anyone would like to learn more about the work that we're doing, you can check our website anytime at crdfglobal.org, crdfglobal.org. And specifically, if you'd like to learn more about the important work we do advancing women in nuclear security, or are interested in supporting the Robin Copeland Memorial Fellowship in the future, we welcome you to visit us at our website, or also to email us directly at copelandfellowship at crdfglobal.org. You can also connect directly with my colleague Lucy Matthews, Kelly Barfield, and this year's Robin Copeland Fellows, all through LinkedIn. We welcome that interaction because, after all, what our long-term goal is here is to create sustainable networks between women in this field so that we can continue to support ourselves in the future, sharing those best practices. And, I'd especially like to underscore the importance of those personal relationships. A lot of us talked about the mentoring that's intrinsically connected in this program, and that can really set us apart and help someone succeed in these fields. So we encourage those personal connections and also welcome the opportunity to connect through our corporate resources as well.
Absolutely brilliant. I have to draw attention to the fact that this conversation is being held by two ladies who are sitting in a time zone where it's the call started at 5:30 a.m. in the morning, right across to our colleagues on this call who are in Indonesia and Malaysia on the opposite side of the globe. So I'm sure they're waiting for their dinner to be served. So ladies, it only leaves me to thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure meeting you. And I'm so glad that we've had the opportunity to give, hopefully, the world a tiny gist of what you're doing, because just meeting you and now hearing a little bit more about you shows that we're just hearing the tip of the iceberg of the wealth of knowledge that sits behind you all. So that's fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to Bankable. For early access to energy transition pioneers and to learn how to structure the investment solutions described in this episode and throughout the series, subscribe to the podcast and get in contact at frescocleantech.solutions.